So hello everybody, I'm Roope Takala, I'm the chairman of the board for Aurora Propulsion Technologies, and I'm here with Perttu Yliopas, our CEO. So I'm a pretty simple engineer, and talking about sustainability gets a little bit abstract. So I thought that we should talk a little bit about what we understand is how do we implement sustainable space operations, what we've done, what to consider, and how to do it. We won't talk about everything, but the stuff that we've done, and hopefully you can get some ideas from that.
Yeah, so recently we've been working and just recently published the first version of a white paper on the topic of space sustainability. And for this white paper, we divided the topic into 3 different segments. There's a little bit of the system engineer approach to this, that we see 2 systems and then their interface, the launch and re-entry sustainability, as a separate topic. So looking at the division on the ground sustainability is all of the traditional corporate responsibility, traditional climate change and green economy that every single industry is working with, but also the downstream way of how the space industry enables the analytics and the insight about the field and what does the space industry contribute. Then the second topic here is the launch and re-entry sustainability, which is very specifically its own topic. It's the topic of how does the space launches impact sustainability as well as re-entry. Design for demise, for example, is very, very important topic where we ensure that no space debris falls all the way to Earth and can cause any problems, either safety issues, public safety issues, or, for example, debris in oceans type of issues. Then, of course, the third topic, which is more commonly discussed in these kind of settings, is the in-orbit sustainability, and which we also much focus on at Aurora, which is the impact of space debris, the sustainability of whether we can use the low Earth orbit in the future as well as, of course, impact on other planetary bodies. So basically, can we also access other planetary bodies in a sustainable way, which is of course a very large topic as well. So what we are looking at specifically at Aurora with launchers in the second category, the terminal stage deorbiting. So basically, when you have a launch provider that has deployed satellites into orbit, and nowadays a lot of those space buses, the space tugs that take satellites to specific orbits, deorbiting of those vehicles. It's a very, very specific problem that we are tackling with our plasma brake solution. With large satellites, very similarly, deorbiting, but also with the dead man switch. So this means that with traditional thrusters deorbiting, the whole satellite needs to be fully functional when you are about to deorbit it. With plasma brake solution, we are aiming to do it fully independently, that the technology allows, where basically when the satellite has already failed, the plasma brake system will detect it and deploy itself. This allows you to actually operate the satellite for a longer time and deorbit it even after a failure on the satellite, which is absolutely crucial for sustainability. Also for small satellites, we are providing deorbit solutions as well as collision avoidance solutions, which 90% of CubeSats don't have at the moment. They don't have any way to react when they get a collision warning, as well as just the access to propulsion. Because let's be real, in CubeSats, many of the satellite projects from universities or somewhere is really practicing to build a satellite. Propulsion is something that is too complex for them to take on board, which results in them not being able to do that collision avoidance. So we make it simple enough that any satellite can actually implement propulsion on their satellite.
So taking it down a little more concrete, So what do we actually do? We do debris avoidance. Our product, collision avoidance engine in the bottom, is an example of that. We promote reuse and recycling of satellites. This is the most difficult part because the idea is to maintain the ability to orbit as long as possible, the ability to operate in orbit as long as possible, and hopefully in the future we also can upgrade satellites during their lifetimes, for instance by refueling them. This requires proximity operations, which is really difficult. And the final part, as Perttu mentioned, is deorbiting satellites with equipment such as our plasma brakes, a picture right here. But what we try to do is make these sustainability topics very concrete for the engineers. Instead of thinking design principles, we look, here's the component, put that into the product. This will take you to the next level.
So looking at the concrete problem of the deorbiting, so at the moment, this figure of 300,000 close call collision risks is from 2017. This has significantly increased from that. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a close call between an old Soviet satellite and an old NASA satellite, neither of which were operable and could do anything about the collision risk. They came within 16 meters of each other 2 weeks ago in orbit. If they had collided, the worst case scenario would have been a 50% increase in the amount of debris in low Earth orbit. This is hugely impactful. This is something that we cannot allow happen. The actual results of these problems are not felt immediately, but when we start feeling them, it is too late to do anything. So it is absolutely crucial that every satellite that is launched today is able to remove themselves, or we need to go there and remove them by active debris removal, which is obviously orders of magnitude more expensive than including the removal method on the satellite originally.
So this is the time when I get to compliment Isabella and her team. There's a lot of work being done on the regulation around space debris, space sustainability. Unfortunately, the US guys got ahead of us and they managed to get the FCC 5-year rule in place, but that means that every satellite must be deorbited 5 years after the end of its operations. Putting a rule like this in place is an engineerable action, and now we can actually do something about it. In Europe, we have the new space law, and then the Space Traffic Management Initiative that are pushing the ability to use propulsion, deorbiting satellites, and taking the level of sustainability up a lot more. Now, you might be wondering why I talk about regulation as an engineer, but it's important that we have a common platform to work from. We are trying to make products that are mass producible or at least large volume producible. We cannot do that if every single country in Europe has different rules. So if there's a baseline ruling, then we can make products in volume. It will push down the price. It will increase the ability for the industry to move forward. So the consistency in the regulation is paramount to success. The next step after this will be when we have the European regulation in place, the US has theirs, is to barter between the two so that when we sell, for instance, products to the US, it's sufficient that we comply with the European regulation and that is accepted by the US counterparts and vice versa. This gives us a larger market, which of course is also important for the growth of this industry. We like space maneuverability, collision avoidance, and deorbiting. Evidently, those are our products. But there are other topics in the laws as well. And one more thing is on the left is sustainability rating. I think that would be a very good topic to start looking at the industry in general, not just the hardware people like us, but also the software teams. And so it allows us to compare companies in terms of investment.
And just as a final word, the problem is not about the amount of objects in low Earth orbit. There's plenty of space in low Earth orbit if we keep the satellites operational, able to avoid collisions, and remove them at the end of life. The actual capacity of low Earth orbit is not a problem. However, we just need to solve the problems in advance, and we can launch all the satellites we will ever need. Thank you.
Please read more about this from our white paper on our website. It's right there. All the regulation synopses should be there as well.